trust me, this panel is all about future. What do you think? How do you think that we can engage, go, and why Bangladesh? Why from Netherlands? That is the thing that we are to spark. CBI and Bangladesh started their journey in 1971, same year. And then we kept on going. CBI supports import from developing countries. So there have been a lot of hand-holding in Bangladesh. Judith understands, and the crafts which you find, high-end crafts, are actually coming through CBI collaboration. PDS, you heard Palak Seth, so Rajive will connect in a different way. TNO, sometimes I tell my colleagues on a lighter note, a bit slightly confusing. They are with very high-tech things, innovation. But we had a fascinating, fiery conversation, 2 hours in TNO, on a lot of things, including cool bricks, and you'll be surprised the way they did. I'll not say now, but you'll hear from them. Joost, if I pronounce your name right. Again, fantastic. Invest International is, I think, 1 year old now?
3 years.
3 years old, sorry. Joost was in Bangladesh in 1997, but now he heads Invest International, which has one of the first projects in Bangladesh with Dhaka City Mayor Atiqul Islam. We'll hear from you why, and we'll come to you on the manufacturing side. So may I first go to, I'll start with André. André, you were in Bangladesh in February. You went for 3-4 days. You moved from different parts, went to Bangladesh village, and how do you see, or would you see, Vice Minister told our 2 ministers that there are 3 sectors they want to bring in within Bangladesh. One is agriculture/agro-food, horticulture to be more precise, and eventually to water circularity, and to one other sector, which I forgot, frankly. So how would you look at Bangladeshi manufacturing now that you were in the ground and now that you hear the vision and aspiration? And how do you think that mutuality of interest can connect us both?
Thank you. Hello. Thank you very much. Thank you for Your Excellency. Thank you. Welcome all the guests here. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, you are right. I was in Bangladesh at the beginning of this year, and as you know, RVO has conducted several market studies in order to find where are the business opportunities for Dutch companies. And with the results of that in mind, and the studies which were focused on animal production, plant production, and some other cross-cutting issues, I experienced that the areas of agriculture practices and circular economy and the water sector are the most potential areas for cooperation between Dutch companies and Bangladeshi companies. And most of all, those are also the focus of the Netherlands Embassy in Dhaka and of RVO. And moreover, the water management and sustainable agriculture practice are central to the transitional relationship between our 2 countries, which was also mentioned by the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of Bangladesh. And the relationship is transforming from a relationship towards a relationship more focused on trade and investment. And in the policy of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade and Development Cooperation, Bangladesh is also qualified as one of the COMBI countries. And in this COMBI approach, the Netherlands combining trade and development of trade activities with development activities in order to have an impact on sustainable development in Bangladesh through private sector engagement. And so, in order to bring Dutch companies and Bangladeshi partners together, we have conducted studies. We have organized impact clusters. And impact cluster is a way in which Dutch companies and their Bangladeshi counterparts are working to strengthen a specific sector in Bangladesh. And we also have established some center of excellences. And actually, your question was also what would be my suggestion to the Dutch companies. And my suggestion to the Dutch companies would be stay open and curious about the opportunities in Bangladesh. Also, I would like to refer to some of the words which were spoken this morning about the several honorable speakers. And make use of the instruments which are available, not only at the RVO, but also at the embassy, and also at Invest International. And in that regard, I would also like to refer to the webpage of the country page of Bangladesh at RVO. There you'll find the do and don'ts with regard to doing business in Bangladesh. And when I was there in March this year, what I found most important is that you have to invest in personal relationship. Personal relationship with your counterpart in Bangladesh is the key for the key for success, and I would strongly advise to invest in that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, André. Judith, yeah, that's right. So far, in the past 1 decade, as much as my notes tell me, CBI has been engaged in Bangladesh in leather, apparel manufacturing, and now with home textile and home decor.
Home decoration, home textile, right. Yeah.
And some of the generic questions we receive from many of the Bangladeshi entrepreneurs, how would they or can they come and engage with Netherlands also for business, but because Netherlands is a distribution hub globally, if not simply in Europe. Mm-hmm. So 2 things. One would be, what would be your suggestion for the Bangladeshi entrepreneurs or those in business to come and engage more? Mm-hmm. As also, how would you see from CBI that how our entrepreneurs who are trying to come to meet the competitiveness as also quality, as also create the new niche to come to Europe?
To Europe, yeah. Well, thank you. Also from my behalf, very nice to be here. As you mentioned, CBI and Bangladesh, we have the same age. We started all at 1971, and we have quite some history together. At the moment, just for your information, we have running a program on the home decoration, home textile. There is part of the expedition, you can see the products which people are able to make. And in this program, we work with the Dhaka University on design and also of the Export Promotion Board in Bangladesh. And it's good to mention we have, for instance, a BD project where we really created solid jobs for more than 650 people, women especially, in the rural areas. And I do mention it because if you ask us from CBI on our experience, what suggestions should you take? Well, what we see is well, you have a lot of people in your country, so it makes so much sense to invest in low labor-intensive industries. And we see clearly a potential for the apparel market, already discussed, it's organized also here. But also the home decoration, home textile sector, the agribusiness sector, agri-food sector, and IT. The IT sector is always very interesting also for the youngsters, for the young people. And the home decoration sector, you can also see that you can work with producers groups. So it's also not only for the cities, but also interesting for the more rural areas, where a lot of people live as well. We have the suggestion that if you make the new steps, you have to move up to the value in the chain. That is so you can do it in several ways, organically, circular, but also to focus on product design. For instance, you have a big jute. How do you say it in English?
Jute.
Jute.
You call it jute.
Jute.
And I call it fiber of future.
Okay, well, fiber?
Of future.
Okay. Well, we know we talk about the jute industry. And what is in fact a little weird is that a lot of products are sent to India and Vietnam to be redesigned, to make the real design, because they have the design centers, and then it's shipped to Europe. So our suggestion would be not only for the companies, but also for the sector, invest also in the design part, because there you can add value to the chain. In that sense, we do work with the BSO, the Business Support Office, on the youth diversification, but still we think you can invest on that. Secondly, and it makes so much sense, but you have to comply to the European standards. And they're getting, it's not only the standards, it's also the market standards. It's not only the regulation from the government, but also what the market is asking. And that's for sure, and I understand there's a lot of effort right now also during this event, how important sustainability is becoming. So the Green Deal and the Farm to Fork, they're moving up, and they're asking more and more from the suppliers to work on. And in that sense, I urge always companies to look at our platform from CBI. We have a unique platform on market intelligence where you can see the trends, the requirements, also the EU requirements, how to do business in Europe. And here you can also find buyers, so that always makes sense to at least have a look at this platform. The third thing, and then I stop because I know you're running in time, but it's working on the image. And I think this event is such a good example, because we have seen the development in Bangladesh also from CBI, but the world hasn't always seen that. So you can't be loud enough and you can't be clear enough on the change you've been making. And I think it's worth it. So I understand next year you have the same event, if I'm right. So I hope also, yeah. So I hope we can even measure the image, because that is important.
Okay. I'll pick up one element from Judith's point, and may I recognize Minister for Commerce here, because, sir, market intelligence is a very key thing, because we can do the foundational things with Invest, TNO, RVO, but sometimes the last mile, market intelligence insights, perspectives really make it happen from both sides, because we have two entrepreneurs interestingly sitting on the end of this panel. That's interesting, it's by coincidence. So that's what I'd submit. Mathilde, I'm actually not coming in a certain way. You'll be next. Sir, we have a very fantastic conversation with her. And Mathilde, please tell us first what are you doing with Square Pharmaceutical in Bangladesh? Because that is the first thing. We also spoke about cool bricks. And just quickly tell us about 3-4 minutes, what are the 8 or 9 things, because that will connect to Joost as also RVO, if not CBI. Please tell us without further ado.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to do so. I'm Mathilde from TNO, an innovation institute with 4,000 people working on a broad range of areas. With Square in Bangladesh, we developed biodegradable sanitary napkins. And the idea was...
Is it already in the market?
Yes, it was launched in April.
And what's the name of that?
It's Biofemina.
What is the name of it? There's a name.
Biofemina.
Okay. So this is a striking thing which is already marketed. So, yeah.
It took a while, but now it's on the market. And the idea was to make the back sheet and the packaging of biodegradable plastic. The absorbent material was already biodegradable, but the idea was now to replace the plastics. And together with a Dutch company in the Netherlands, Rodeburg Biopolymers, we developed a resin that really suits the design criteria of the napkins, that it's 8 hours fully water resistant, and it degrades after that, especially when it's buried in the soil. We produced the resin, we blew some films, we sent it to Square, we did some trials, and they were very enthusiastic because it was much more comfortable for the end users and very good material characteristics. Then we sent the resin made in the Netherlands to Premiaflex, and they blew the biodegradable films locally. And Square assembled in the biodegradable napkins, and now the biodegradable sanitary napkin is there.
The point is, these are cost-effective, affordable by poor particular apparel workers. So that's the point. So it cannot be a niche product. It is a niche one, but it is cost-effective. Yeah. Not only simply hashtag sustainability, but circularity, but also cost-effective.
And there are much more opportunities for biodegradable plastics. Now it's for sanitary napkins, but you can use it for supplies in agri-food, for pots, to have it in kitchenware, to have it in all kind of packaging. So I think we started with this one. We made the resin out from potato starch. So you can use agricultural residues to make new products and to valorize waste. And there are multiple other topics you can use for the plastics, but also for the biomass.
Mathilde, can you tell 3 or 4 of the things that we spoke about? Cool bricks.
Yeah. Cool bricks, they are really cool. You don't have to heat them because we work on the replacement of cement. Cement is scarce, expensive, and the most expensive part for bricks and blocks in housing, but also for mortar. And for instance, with rice husks, we can make an activated material that make bricks strong without heating them. And in that sense, it lowers the costs, it lowers the energy use, it lowers the environmental load. And we are working on that in Malawi at the moment, especially for the bricks and the blocks and the mortar. And I think it can be a tremendous opportunity for Bangladesh as well to introduce them over there.
Okay. So there are 2 things for everyone in the audience. Any problem in Bangladesh, TNO has challenged me that any challenge can be turned into opportunity. Even when I look at Mr. Siddiqur Rahman coming from southern Bangladesh, Borishal area, you're struggling with salinity at every level. They can do either have solutions, they can tap with many of the distinguished panelists, but if not, the solutions can be developed and adapted to Bangladeshi context. I hope I'm right on that score. So
yes.
I'm looking at not only you, but also Invest, TNO, our view together. It's simply not manufacturing, it's an urbanization, it's an agriculture. Many of the things we think that these are not usable, doable, or not business worthy, they have solutions. So please grab them afterwards. Don't let them go. I'll come back to you. Because I'm bringing you Joost at the end, there is a reason. Mr. Sohel Sadat, tell me 3 things, because you have been in apparel manufacturing for quite some time. What would be your vision, expectation, individually as also collectively? Just tell us.
Thank you very much, distinguished guests and honorable speakers. Good afternoon. It's a good platform. Sometimes I feel like that I should talk as an individual, like as an entrepreneur. Bangladesh is a nice country. We have a lot of resources. And beside this,
Sir,
I think we need to have a collaboration.
3 or 4 things.
3 and 4 things, yeah. If I go the collaboration straight to the point, collaboration between institutions, public and private, for research and development, then design and product development, industry, big data management, supply chain management, quality control, human resource department, and most importantly, studying the culture. The culture is very important to connect. So that will take us to the next level. That's what we can tap. Whatever we are doing currently is fine, but I think we have ample of opportunity is unleashed. We can go and explore if we understand the culture. That's from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you. He has said something very interesting, which is data applications. Netherlands is a country, there's a place, I think when I go to Utrecht, also to Wageningen partly, but maybe other places, it's all about how creatively we mine data and also then interface with you. So I think you can connect with not only individuals here, but also others. Because anything and everything, much of data you yourself are generating, not as the industry. But there's very little understanding how data can be turned into a real asset, much more than something goods that you're producing. But that's something I see often ground zero. I'll come to you later, but now Joost. Invest as a 3-year-old institution as Invest International, which is a financing entity, very interesting. I think last March or this March, you secured your first project in Bangladesh with the Dhaka City Mayor, Atikul Islam. If you please tell us that, how did you do? Why did you go to Bangladesh? And what is the possibilities that you see in Bangladesh in terms of many other projects? Because there are a lot of takers here, and also the ministers are sitting there.
Yeah, thank you. Ministers, honorable ministers, audience, nice meeting you. Invest International is a new, like you said, a new state-owned enterprise. We have about 3 billion under management, both on balance and off balance. And we are there to finance Dutch businesses overseas if the banks find it difficult to finance them. But then still needs to be a good business case, right? And I think what you talked about earlier is that we are moving from aid to trade. And I think our institution has been set up to facilitate that process because there are many. What you see now is that the big commercial banks are withdrawing quite strongly from financing SMEs, especially in risky markets like Bangladesh, right? Anything below 15 million export finance, they probably will not do it, although there may be a good business case. So that's where we step in. So we try to finance those Dutch businesses that have a good business case, but where the banks find it difficult to do so. And it's typically in innovative solutions, like you talked about in circularity or in water or in agriculture, where you see most of those Dutch businesses bringing a solution, or what you talked about, and we can finance that. So we work with money from development aid, where we finance Dutch businesses, which is really risky, high impactful, but we don't know whether we get the money back, up to 3 million, something like that. And then from 3 million onwards to about 80 million out of our core capital, where we want our money back in terms of loans, can be export finance, can be investment loans. And there are many opportunities in Bangladesh, I think.
How was your first project with Dhaka City Canal Restoration?
Yeah, so we also work on public finance. So out of development aid, we are allowed to finance public infrastructure projects up to about 50 million euros. And we have been looking for projects in Bangladesh. There have been projects in the past in Khulna around flood protection, and now in Bangladesh, in Dhaka. We're talking with the authorities there to see if we can help them on the water control systems over there. Yeah. It's a bit early stage yet, but it looks promising that we can work with.
Can you explain what do you mean by leveraging financing from Invest? What does it mean? Because there are many who might think of you.
Yeah, so it depends a little bit on what kind of projects we're talking about. So if it's about our public infrastructure grants, then 2/3 to half needs to be financed by other financiers, right? Other donors or the World Bank or what have you, or the government of Bangladesh. I think the government of Bangladesh nowadays has the means to do that itself, right? So we're trying to find our ways through talking to the Minister of Finance, finding the right ways to do that, because we cannot finance everything logically, right? The country needs to take skin in the game itself. For the other companies, for the private finance, we can finance 100%, but we can also do, if it's equity, we don't want to be the only equity player in that company for obvious reasons. So it depends a bit. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll come back to you. Because it's very interesting, Mathilde, I think also our view, because many of the things that we'd like to do, ground testing particularly, we can't so often miss the last miles. I look at Invest, frankly, as much as I understand, to chip in. And for many of the entrepreneurs who have read fantastic, stimulated ideas, which may not get, might look at Invest. So I come, and gentlemen, please get with your questions. We might have very little time to pick up some of the questions. And then we'll hear, so that we hear your voices as well. Last but not the least is Mr. Rajive. You have been in Bangladesh for quite some time. The mic. Yeah, quite some time, and you heard the perspectives from this side, some of the movers in Netherlands in terms of public, as also sitting in the interface of public and private. So being engaged in Bangladesh for quite some time and listening to the perspectives, particularly in this panel, and if I ask you next 5 to 10 years, how would you articulate your presence, footprint in Bangladesh?
So first of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity for being here. I would share a bit of my personal history. I come from a state called Bihar, which is one of the most
I think most of us are familiar, no problem.
State in India, and we have border with Bangladesh with a small strip. And while I was in the 8 years old, we were selling the flag of Bangladesh while 1971 liberation was going. I had the opportunity for the first time to be in 90s in Bangladesh. And that point of time, there was hardly any infrastructure. And today, when I see the bridge on the Padma River, I think we have come very, very far.
I think, sir, in the interest of time, if I request you for your reflections. Please.
Yes. Coming to the perspective of it today, we are buying about Techno Design itself, which is part of the PDS group, buying about $100 million worth of goods out of Bangladesh. Last year, we started with the footwear. And I think footwear is one section which will grow further and where I see opportunities. Just as fresh as last week, we placed the orders of towels for the very large chain of stores called Metro. And Marco is the one in the Holland. So that's the next segment where I think that Bangladesh has huge potential. I have been traveling to US recently. We met many of the executives of Walmart, but also to other, and our core market is Germany. And what we see is that everybody is looking to what we call as the CO, country of origin diversification. What it means is that people are looking for alternative sourcing coming out of various products, not only apparel. We're talking about bicycles, we're talking about other light products, we're talking about home and hard goods. Various segments to be diversified from China. And here I see Bangladesh playing a very, very large role. And I also see some of the entrepreneurs coming with the newer items in Bangladesh. So in my perspective, as long as we can keep on working on the next level of efficiency, next level of growth, I see a very fair chance of Bangladesh becoming, in RMG itself, the #1 player in the world. Today we are at 42 billion, and I think there are a lot more opportunities. And secondly, I also see, but in other segments like footwear, like home and hard goods, huge opportunity for Bangladesh entrepreneurs. And that is where I think Techno, but also we as a PDS group, are going to engage ourselves further and deeper into Bangladesh.
I can fill you in with 3 things. I was told by some of the Dutch friends that around 70 plus Dutch companies, they don't reveal their names because of GDPR, are already engaged in digital industry, sourcing or doing things in Bangladesh. Digital, meaning what people call IT. Some of the cinema makers in Rotterdam and else, they are in talks. So I often say it's culture to agriculture or also still cinema. That's the horizon. So what you're trying to tease is we need to look at many other sectors across real manufacturing and also services. And perhaps also to look at the third country possibilities. I think that we heard in the initial stages from the earlier inaugural panel. Quickly, questions. Please raise your hands so that we can connect. You can ask them. Questions from the floor? Either you're hungry or you perhaps the glucose level might have gone slightly low. Okay, if not, can I come to Mathilde? Because I'd like to come because I think we can explore. There were a couple of things you said in the 2 hours. So if you pick up 2 or 3 things which you think that may excite as an idea, for example, bricks is one, centripad you tease with, but when we look at the decarbonization of manufacturing landscape or circularity, Bangladesh needed for Bangladesh itself to transform Bangladeshi manufacturing landscape, but also as part of the global supply chain, other players also, other actors also need the transformation to happen in Bangladesh for the entire supply chain. So can you tell a couple of things, because particularly on circularity, because circularity, what I note being in Netherlands, I may invite the attention of the Honorable Minister, the demand side, meaning the consumers and brands in Netherlands, Europe, the West are very ready. They're asking for things. Supply side in Bangladesh, vast part of Asia, are not that ready, not organized, data mapping are not there, regulation are not there. How can you come in the step TNO, for example? What kind of interesting collaboration you may think of coming in decarbonization and circularity? Because we are trying to talk about emerging perspectives. Bangladesh will move because of its own. We have the drivers. But in the process, can we connect our drive, speed, motion to the global ecosystem? So that you also connect to our view and invest purposefully sitting next to you, and also the two entrepreneurs.
Yeah, with respect to circularity, I think there are many local business cases, but also international business cases. There are a lot of opportunities for that, and especially in the agro-food sector. I think the side streams for agricultural produce, you can do a lot of it. So now it is waste, but you can turn it into value. And for instance, you can use pyrolysis to make biochar. Very important for local energy consumption, and it's not that investment intensive. And I think the biochar can be a good product for Bangladesh, and you can use it as well, the residues of that one, as a biofertilizer. Another thing is turning agricultural residues into animal feed by use of the black soldier fly. If you use insects to transfer the residues into in the pupae of the black soldier flies, pigs and fish love it, and I think it's a very attractive business case as well. Also making briquettes from rice husk, or making cooking oil from rice bran, or making chemicals from fruit waste. I think there are multiple examples, especially in Bangladesh and the agro sector that is available there, that you can turn that into value. And one is the technical solution that is there. You always have to adapt it a little bit, but it's also about the business model. And I think TNO is bridging the gap between knowledge at universities, the can-do mentality at the local enterprises, but also with the government and linking them up. So within the eco-innovation system, besides of the technology opportunities, I think also the process of innovation, how to make it a success, is very important.
I think we can close the panel, but with two examples, and I look at this side of the things. We were talking about jackfruit. We throw it away. But jackfruit, the meat, is a fantastic called jack patty. And how do we do it? So that's a collaboration between TNO and Wageningen. So I'm connecting the dots now. We spoke about a lot of things, the other being, for example, maize plant, bhutta.
Yeah.
We throw it away. We get this much of corn, but rest of it. Wageningen is now talking that how it's full of protein. How do we convert the protein to further economic use? All have fascinating business cases. Because quite often, sir, I receive calls from Dhaka, from many of our entrepreneurs. I can see some of them and say, can we do something? I said, this side, Netherlands has all kind of technology holders, either in SME or individuals, and they're ready to sell their technology. How do you create the pathway? So when we hear that agri-food and agriculture hashtag are the next big thing to happen, and that's why we are CBI, RVO, Invest, and TNO. They represent actually the gateway or gateways for the Bangladeshi entrepreneurs to scout technology, scout innovation, and then blend it with design thinking. So on that note, may I end the panel? And thank you very much for each of you for joining. I'm sorry that we are rushing, but some of the perspectives which are coming, I think these are just teasing the ground. So thank you very much.